In today's class, we will be learning about the next concept in the structures. So up to our last video, we learned about what actually a structure is and how structure variables can be accessed using the dot operator, and then we learned about how structures and pointers can be connected. So we learned we have three methods to connect a pointer to a structure. First one is uh, structure pointer to structure variable. Second one is pointer to structure elements, and third one is for both. So with example, we have seen all those things. In today's class, we will be learning about how structures and functions can be connected. You already know what actually a function is, and you already know what actually a structure is. Individually, you know about structures and functions. So I will be revising just the definition of the structure. You all know structure is nothing but collection of more than one data element, and all the data elements can be of different data types. So we can define structure as a collection of heterogeneous data type elements, right? And whereas coming to a function, we already learned function nothing but a set of self-contained block of statements, and those block of statements will be given a name, and whenever you want to execute that set of block of statements, then you can simply call that block by using that name, and that block is referred as a function. While learning about the functions, we already learned what is function call, and how what is nothing but actual arguments, what is nothing but formal arguments, and how types of functions we have. All these things we learned at the time of learning the functions concept. Now, in case of functions, where you are passing some arguments, to pass that argument, how can we pass our structures as an argument to the function that we are going to learn today? Okay, so whenever you want to pass any structure, whenever you want to pass any structure to any function from main to a sub function, or from sub function to another function, you can pass the structure as an argument, right? So if you are defining a structure within that function only, let us consider you have one function, and if you are defining that function, that the structure only in that function, then that function structure should be passed as an argument by a value or by a reference. You need to pass that complete structure, right? Or else you can make whatever structure you have, that structure can be declared as a global. You already know what actually a global variable and local variable is, right? So similarly here also a structure can be defined as a global variable, and instead of declaring that one in a particular function, you can make it as a global variable so that it can be visible throughout all the functions in your C program. And also a function can return a structure also. Normally we learn a function can return an int value, float value, char value. Right? If nothing is written, we need to declare it as a void. But we can also return a structure value from one function to the other function. So whenever a function is called, after the complete task is done, you can return the structure also as a return value. Right? So with this basic idea, we will be learning in how many ways structures and functions can be combined. Right? So first way is we can pass a structure variable to a function. Second one is we can pass a structure variable address to the function, and the third way is instead of passing the variable, we can pass individual elements also as arguments to the function. So let us see one by one all these things. So the first way is, this is our first one, passing structure, complete structure variable to a function by value. So whenever we want to pass any complete structure to a value, what we are doing is we will be creating one variable of that function, and that variable will be passed to another function. So how that can be done? Let us see a simple example. Let us take, this is the function that you want. So this is the function. This is the function we have created. Sorry, this is the structure we have created, struct student. Okay, and then in that struct student, you have ID, you have name, you have percentage as three elements of your structure. Now, in the main function, for this struct student, I have created a variable in the main function. Right? Now, what is that variable? Yes. Now let us consider it. If it is a record, I think there is a mistake here. It should be a record. Let us consider. Or yes, if you are considering, then s dot id you need to write. I will show you an example also. S dot id I have given as 1. and s dot name equal to, I have s dot name I have stored with a name, and then s dot percentage is stored with 86.5%, like that. Now here you can check here, we are calling a function with the name func, and to that function we are passing a parameter yes, and what is that parameter? It is of structure type. You can observe here this statement, you can observe all of you. Okay, now let us see how the function can be written. So we are calling this function func, and here if you observe, here you can observe what we are doing. We are passing the s as a parameter. Here we are passing s as a parameter. So always whenever you remember, if you pass in any integer value, how you will declare here, you need to store that one as int, and you to store that one in some variable, and that variable should be of integer data type. Here also s value should be stored in a record variable, and what should be the data type of that record variable? Same like your s. What is the data type of your s? Struct student. So record should also be declared as struct student. Now what happens? Whatever data you have, what is the data available in s? ID, name, percentage, that is 1, Raju, and 86.5. That data will be copied as it is into the record. So if you are trying to print the values of the record, then what happens? Record.id, you will be getting a value of 1. Record.name, you will be getting a value of Raju, and record.percentage, you will be getting a value of 86.5. Right? Let us see an example of this one. What I have done here, same thing, follow carefully. We have taken all these header file declarations are done. You all are familiar with these things, and I have defined one structure, and that structure name is student, and here name, ID, and percentage are the members of your struct student. Okay, now coming to main method. In the main method, we have created one variable for the struct for our student, and that variable is s. Now for this s, I am giving name, ID, and percentage. You all know how a string value can be given. We need to use string handling function. So the name is given like this, ID is given as 123, and percentage is given as 78. We have to use the dot operator. You all know about this, how to assign the values to the structure variables using the dot operator. Why we are using dot operator? Because it is a normal variable. Right, now coming to the next three statements, what we are doing here, the next three statements are simply we are trying to print the values whatever we have assigned in the main. So I am expecting an output of student details in main. You will be getting the name, that is Jyoti, ID 123, and percentage is 78. You need to get these three statements. Now after that, you can observe here I am calling a function called show, and to that show I am passing a parameter is s. What is our s? It is of structure. It is a structure variable, right? So what happens whenever you are whenever the function show is called, we are passing s. So it should be stored in a variable, any variable name you can give. I have given s1. Now this s1 should be of which data type? Similar like your s data type. What is the data type of s? Struct student. So that's why s1 is also declared as struct student. Got it all of you? Now what happens? Whatever values are there for s, that will be exactly copied to s1. That means s1 will also point to now. S1 will also point to name, ID, and percentage. Like yes will be pointing to these three. S1 will also point to these three. But what happens? Whatever values you give for s, that will be exactly copied to s1. Now again we have 4 more printf statements where we are trying to have student details in show. Name will be displayed as s1.name. Whatever name is there, that one will be printed. What name will be having? Same name that is given for s. And on s1.show ID and s1.percentage. So if you are trying to, if this function is written, we need to write the function prototype of this one. How to write the function prototype? You need to tell the return type. Our return type is void. Function name is show, and it requires one parameter only, and that parameter is of struct student, and this name is given as s1. So this is a function prototype. Got it? So if you run this program, you will be getting these 4 lines of output where this value will be displayed, and again 4 lines of output you will be getting where S1 values are displayed. So in our program, both S and S1 names are same. Why? Because we are copying S values into S1. So let us run this program and let us check. You can check here. The student details in main are name, ID and percentage are displayed, and whatever these belongs to yes. And coming back to the next one, student details in show means S1 we are talking about whatever S values are there that has been copied into S1 and we are successful in retrieving the values. Got it? So what happens with this? If you make any changes in this program for this S1, this will not reflect your SY because simply the values will be copied. But if you make any changes, that will not reflect this S. That will only reflect your S1 only. I hope you all know that one, how pass by value, because the pass by value means just the values will be copied. Right? So this is how a complete structure can be passed, a structure variable can be passed as a parameter to your function value, function argument. The next one is passing structure by function to its by its address. You can see here what the only difference we have done here is we have created one struct s, okay, and then the values are assigned like 1 Raju and 86.5. You all are clear with that. But here what we are doing, we are passing the address of s. Okay, so if you see here we are passing, in the earlier slide we are simply passing the value, but here if you see we are passing the address. Make a note here, this is not record.id, this is yes.id. Okay, that's a mistake here. So instead of passing the value, we are passing the address. So whenever, do you remember the normal way we are passing the addresses? If you are passing the address, we need to store that one in a pointer variable. That's why record is now declared as a pointer variable. Right? Now, what should be the data type of this record? Same like your yes, the data type is struct student. The data type here is struct student. Right? Now, what is the difference here? We are passing the address here. Right? Now, whenever you are using a pointer variable, if you want to access the values, you need to use this arrow mark only that we have already learned in the class where we learn how pointers can be connected to the structures. So if you are accessing through the pointer, you need to use this arrow mark. Observe the difference between the earlier example. Here we have used the dot operator. Why? Because this is the normal variable. But in this case, the record is a pointer. Why? Because we are passing the address of this yes. So we need to use this arrow mark. Let us do those changes in our program and let us see whether we are getting the output or not. Okay, so what we are trying to do, we are trying to print the values of s. So now what I am doing is, instead of passing the s value, I am passing address of s, and this should be a pointer variable. You all know about this, right? So arrow mark here, wherever you have a dot operator, that should be changed as your arrow mark, right? And you need to change your this one also, function prototype also, you need to tell this one is a pointer variable. Right? So let us compile this program and check whether we are getting the output or not. Yeah, we are successful in getting the values. So whatever value you have given for yes, same values we got for S1 also through the pointer. Right? But what is the difference between the earlier one and this one is, any changes if you make in your S1, any changes you make in your S1, that will obviously change your S also. Why? Because we are using the pointer. Let me show that one. To understand that one, what we'll do is, let us copy these things once again. Oh no. I think it is completely erased. Yeah. What happened? Yeah, okay, wait 1 second. So what I want to do is, after this also, after this, I want to paste the things. Whatever we have, this is an extra thing that is copied. Let me delete this. Okay. So what I want to do is, details in main after function return. Okay, so this should be your s dot name. I just want to show you if you are making any changes, whether it is reflecting or not. I just want to show you that. Okay. And what I want to make the changes here is, after printing the original values, I want to make the changes like this. What I want to change is strcpy of name. I want to change that one to, okay, and it's not strcpy. What is that? I want to save again S1 of ID. I want to save the value as 234. Let us check whether it will work or not. Okay. Okay, we try to change the values here. So what is our main aim is here? Observe the program carefully. We have taken a variable s, and to that s we have assigned the values of Jyoti 1, 2, 3 and 78, and we are trying to print the values. And now we are calling a function called show, where we are passing s address. So whatever s address is there, the same thing it will be pointing, and we are trying to print the values using that one. So here we are expecting the values of old values only, but later on I have changed the values and the function will return back, and we will be seeing whether it is reflecting our main method function value s variable or not. Okay, so let us run this program and check. Yeah, it has been changed. You can see here, first 4 statements is in main and the next 4 statements is in show, and we have changed the values of name and ID in the show, and after going back you can see here student details in main. After function written, the values are changed even though we are displaying in the main method, because we are passing the address. So any changes that you make in your actual or formal argument, that will reflect your actual argument that you already know. Got it? So this is how an address can also be passed from to a function as an argument to the function. The structure address can also be passed, right? Why we are using arrow marks? Because remember, whenever you are accessing the values through a pointer, we need to use the arrow mark only. In the first case, we are not using a pointer, we are using a normal variable. I told you in the last class, if you are accessing the members, we can access the member using the dot operator or arrow operator. Dot operator will be used when you are talking with a normal variable. But if you are working with a pointer variable like this, then you need to use the arrow mark. That is the only difference. Okay. Now, let us see the third way of passing structure elements to the function. Here, what we are doing in the first 2 cases, I am showing you again. Here, you see, we are passing complete structure. Here also we are passing complete structure. In the earlier case it is value, here it is reference. But in the third case, instead of passing the complete structure, we can pass individual values also. Again, this is s.id. Now make a note that one. What we are doing, instead of passing to function complete s, we are passing individual values s.id, s.name, s.percentage. That is also possible. That is your third way, passing structure elements to your function. So what is s.id? S.id is your integer value. So that should be stored in your integer. Okay. And s.name is of your, whenever you are passing with the name, that means you are passing the initial address, because working with the strings is little bit different. So that's why it is stored in a pointer variable. And s.percentage is again of integer type. So this should be of int type. Okay, and if you can directly print the values, how can you print the values? R value, if you are trying to print, then what is R? yes dot id will be printed. What is n? N if you are trying to print, then what happens? Whatever n value is there, that will be printed. Float p, whatever p value you have, that is percentage, that will be printed. So here you need to observe, like instead of passing the complete structure, if you want only some value, suppose you want to work with id only, you don't want to use this name in percentage, then only that id can be passed. Are you understanding? In the earlier two cases, complete structure will be passed as value or by reference. But if you want to work with only individual elements, then instead of passing the complete structure, you can pass that particular element only that with which you want to work. Got it? So this is the way how structures can be passed to the functions. We have three options. What are the three options? First option is passing the complete structure where values are copied. Second option is passing the complete structure where address of that structure variable is passed. And the third option is instead of passing the complete structure, we can pass only the individual values of the structure. I hope you all are clear with this concept.